So we've taken our OCS, our Open Creative Space, and we're bringing it to a live stream, and we're going to do this weekly. This is our second kick at the can. Last week we looked at City Story. That was our first session. In this session, we're going to look at kitchen table tinkering. You can. I have a couple of the team members here as well with us, and we are going to tinker today on the kitchen table. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of give you an idea of how you can go about starting off with some tinkering, and we're going to give you some resources that you can do as well that will help you kind of get you and your students started. Now, the online stuff can be done online, but as you know, some of our elementary educators will be back in classrooms with students, so you can do this also in class. We've done it many times, and the kids love it. And we're going to kind of talk to you a little bit about why we do this, why we make throughout as we build today. So we're going to kind of combo things together a little bit. So each of the locations that we have some of the teams set up across Quebec, kind of scattered about, and they're going to join us throughout the time we have together. And yeah, it should be super interesting. So we will discuss a couple of things, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and give you some resources that you can continue doing this kind of stuff with. So what I'm going to do now is quickly, I'm just going to share my screen with you because I want to show you a couple of things that I have for you guys to use. So, hopefully you can see this. So what I'm showing you here is our teacher guide. So this is kind of some instructions and some information that you can use to kind of do this with your students. So this is kind of designed to be done throughout the year. We really think that practicing using your imagination makes a stronger imagination. And it also allows students to kind of think outside the box a little bit, see materials in different ways, and also to develop, like I'm saying, that muscle of creativity that we need to work out. So that's kind of the philosophy behind the brown bagging it. And it's a brown bag because we put the materials in a brown bag, but it's not necessary. You can put them in, you could just say, okay, I want you to have these 5 materials. So it's really up to you how you go about doing that. You can kind of see on the right-hand side, there was one, this challenge was create something for your playground. So they created a little, this was a climbing, kind of like a rock wall kind of thing. So what you would do is that you would choose from the matrix a challenge. There's 30 of them. There's a couple of free builds in there, which you can put your own in if you want, or if you have other ideas. You do not have to follow the matrix we're supplying, but it's there to generate some ideas. And then the students kind of on a piece of paper take a minute to list as many different things that they can make with that theme of the day. And then they have to figure out one thing that they're going to actually prototype. And then they're going to have 5 minutes to build it. And then at the end, you share your process and you share your prototype, similar to what we'll model today. And then the materials, well, the materials are whatever you have. Today I found a couple of materials, some popsicle sticks. I'm going to be using some rolls. I have some elastic bands. I have some pieces of cardboard that I'm going to use. And of course, I have my scissors and my glue that will come along with it. So the matrix itself, you'll see that I do give you some ideas for material lists along the left-hand side. And then you have the instructions again to kind of remind you or have at your access, or you can hang this up in your classroom. And then you have 31 different challenges that you can do. Today, we are going to look at creating a musical instrument. All right, so that's the challenge. You have to create a musical instrument with the materials that you have. Now, before we get started, I want to just introduce who we have here today. Well, they'll introduce themselves because they have voices and they have Zoom. So Sylvia, there's Sylvia.
Hi.
We also have Craig with us as well.
Hi, guys. Kitchen table tinkering in my garage today.
Awesome. And we also have Tom out in St. Lambert.
Hello, all.
So we'll kind of rotate. We're each going to have our turn kind of making, but we're all going to do the same challenge. And the challenge today, again, like I said, is build your own musical instrument. Remember that we're going to share everything using the hashtag kitchen table tinkering. And I put our OCS site there. That's where you'll find all the resources, but I'll show you those at the end of the session. So let me just pop over here now. I'm going to flip over to my document camera so you can kind of see my materials that I have. And I'll just show you pretty quickly. I have some rings, I have some elastics, I have some cardboard, right? Different kinds of cardboard I can use. And also I have my trusty tape and scissors. I pulled out the glue gun, but I don't think I'm going to use it. So I'm going to just go about kind of creating something. But as I do this, many of us ask this question oftentimes is why do we do this? Why tinker? Why kind of, get a bunch of supplies out and just kind of play around with them? And our philosophy has always been that we really think that deep learning happens once you start to use your hands more, right? So it doesn't really matter the content that you're using. It's that can you make your kids get engaged with materials that can show their understanding of the content that you're trying to have them understand. So I find that once the students get their hands involved in whatever they might be doing, it really starts to solidify what's going on with the material that you need them to cover. And the good thing is that this is kind of deep learning, we call it, where it goes deep, it sticks. If you ever ask a student, some memories of school, particularly in high school, they're going to talk a lot about experiences that they had, things that they did with their friends or events that they did or projects that stuck out. So we want to kind of create that within the classroom, and through making stuff and designing stuff and prototyping things, you get that kind of hands-on, deeper learning going on. So here's the start of something. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I'm going to throw it over to Sylvia and see what she's playing with. And just a little note, Sylvia just got her document camera today, so it should be pretty interesting how she does her document camera. All right, over to you, Sylvia. What do you got for us?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to spotlight my document camera so you can see the stuff that I have chosen to work with today. All right, let me put some focus on there. Okay, so I have some very simple things. I have some rubber bands. I have this little Tetley container, and I have a bunch of different kinds of lids. And what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to make some sort of noises with this. And I kind of like the resonance of this. Got some nice resonance. So I'm thinking that I'm going to start with that and put some elastics on it and see if I can make it make sort of like a guitarish sound. And one of the things that we get asked a lot, or that we've been also thinking about as we go to your classrooms and work with your kids, is who benefits from these types of activities? What kind of learner can most benefit from these open-ended challenges that are very hands-on? And what we've found is that it's often the kids who are disengaged and who struggle academically who will find themselves both engaged and successful in these kinds of activities. And one of the reasons for their success is that these activities being open-ended and not having a right or wrong answer or a right or wrong way of doing things, they're imminently used to not knowing what the right answer is. So they don't have any emotional distress from that. So not only do they already know how to live in a sort of a world of uncertainty, which is their daily experience, here they're also celebrated for what it is that they can accomplish with their imagination and with not knowing what the right answer is. So they experience a lot of success, these kids who struggle academically usually, and it not only changes how we see them, but it changes how their peers see them. And ultimately it changes how they see themselves. So here I am here I am making this kind of noise, and then this makes a twang. I'm going to put it next to my, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to go back. You can see it, but you can't hear it, but it does make a sound. It just makes like a twangy upright bass sound. And then I was also experimenting with these metal lids. I might see if I can make some sort of castanet thing, but I'm really into the lids and the elastics. Yeah, so I'll throw it over to Craig and to see what he's doing, and also what he has to say about making, and who, you know, what we can do with that academically also.
Thanks, Sylvia. I hope my Wi-Fi holds up in the garage here. But a little bit about what I'm doing here. I'm in the garage, and you can see, I hope, some of the stuff I have here, my tape gun, and I found some old wrenches, actually, that I wanted to do something cool with, and they'll be kind of noisy and fun. But so why am I in the garage? I was at my desk this morning, and I was trying to think of an idea, and I kind of go around in circles when I'm in my head. I start thinking about what's possible, and it's a little bit wishy-washy. And so nothing was coming of it. I even thought of making a kazoo. Anyway, I made my way down into the garage to the shop, and this is where my inspiration comes from. So I got out of my head, and I needed to just start picking up stuff and seeing what I could actually make with it. And so I did look up online the idea of a xylophone, and I'm just playing around with this. I have some pool noodles here. Some wrenches, like I said, some strings. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to tie this all together, but I really had to get in front of the stuff. I needed to be holding it in my hands so that I could just do it. That old moniker, right? Just do it. So that's where I'm at today. I'm going to play with this a little bit, and hopefully if I finish it up, I can share something even down the road, a video or something like that. So let me pass it over to Thomas, and let's see what Thomas is doing.
Okay, so I've been listening along to the others, and I guess some key points are there's no right and there's no wrong. And one of the things that Chris had shown you at the beginning was have the kids look at the stuff. So, you know, I got some toilet paper rolls, and we have lots of rubber bands in the house, and rubber band instruments came to mind when we said instruments. That whole idea of having kids look at what's in the paper bag and brainstorm, and then think about, well, what could I do if I want to make a rubber band instrument? What are the different ways I can put the rubber band around my tubes? And does that give me a sound? That rubber band's too big here. If I stuff, okay, if I put this one inside, does that give me, well, that gives me a sound. So I'm taking the feedback from what I'm doing. And then I thought, well, what if I put them on here lengthwise? Well, that gives me a nice sound. If I do another one. And I also noticed if I put them down on the table, the sound is different. And I can tune these by tightening up the rubber band a little bit. Whoop. It's a good thing I have lots of rubber bands. So I'm trying stuff out. I'm putting stuff together. I haven't got an idea of what the finished thing should even be, but I'm really using the feedback. So that's much lower, and if I pull it, I can get a high note. And if I take all of my tubes, then I'd have to probably get some tape and hold them together, because to start playing them, if I want more than one or two notes, it gets harder to play. So taping them together might be an idea. So this whole using feedback, we talk about how important reflection is for kids, and also how important it is to document as they go. Fortunately, I've got a document camera, and I can take pictures as I go to document what I'm doing. so that I can share what I'm learning as I'm doing this later on with other kids. That whole process is really, really important. Reflecting, using the feedback from what you're doing, refine, try again. That would be what we'd like the kids to get out of anything that they play with in this, just as a starter thing. All right, I'll pass it over to Chris.
Awesome. That's great, guys. Thanks for sharing like that. I've kind of finished my prototype, or a kind of prototype. It looks better than it sounds, but it's similar to Tom's idea. Because we did this one time before and a lot of us did shakers. So we're kind of moving over to the elastics and the twanging and the more of the string instruments. Super fun to play with. Now, one other thing I want to just kind of emphasize a little bit is that when you're doing things like this, you're really just prototyping, right? And prototyping is just trying to put something together, an idea that represents something. We often tell kids it doesn't need to work. And it doesn't have to look like, you know, the Eiffel Tower design. You know, it needs to allow other students to see your ideas and the process you went through to get to your prototype. One of the key things, too, is the share. Whenever we create something, it's always great to kind of share it with everyone else. And we've done this in a couple of different ways. We've used Flipgrid to kind of record a little video, and then students could comment on the videos that were created. But there's many different ways that you can have trace evidence of the process that the kids are going through. And having an end goal of an artifact is really cool. So on the brown bagging it, remember, you have 31 different challenges that you can do. We recommend that you do them often. If you only do it once a year, you're not really bringing the brain to the gym to work the muscle out of the brain. So the more you do it, the better it is for your students, because the imagination and creativity will unblock, and then who knows where these kids will go. So I'm gonna bring everybody back in. Michael, can you put us all on the same screen for a minute? We'll just kind of have our little wrap up. I want to just quickly thank the team again, Sylvia and Thomas and Craig, for coming and playing with us. Maybe we can hold our prototypes up. You can see that we have similar kinds of playing things. Craig's got all those wrenches over there. I really like
it up, but listen to this. Never had a lesson.
A natural. So as we kind of just leave you for your weekend, it's a beautiful day. Remember, the snowbirds are going to be flying over in a little bit. Next week, next Thursday, 1 o'clock again, we'll be here. We'll do a live stream. Next week, we're going to look at doing chain reactions. We're going to give you some strategies and information about how you can create your very own chain reaction or Rube Goldberg machine. And we'll give you some resources that go along with it. But you'll find all the things that we've done today over on our Learn website. So ocs.learnquebec.ca. And you'll see in the blog, it's called Kitchen Table Tinkering. So the live stream will be there, resources for your students, and plus all the brown bag resources, the teacher guide, and the matrix itself will all be there. I want to thank you guys for a short and sweet OCS live stream. Again, thanks to the team, and we'll see you next Thursday. Have a great one.